Program initiated.
Well, here we are back again. We are streaming. It's awesome. It's good to be back at doing this. I don't know why I got away from doing this. I had so much fun doing it, and it just sort of fell on the wayside. But I'm back. I did it last week and had a lot of fun doing it. And now let's talk a little bit about Strange New Worlds. But before we get going to that, let's do this. So if you are here as, well, you are here, and no one's here, but if you were here and you're finding this, or you're finding this video after the fact, you're finding this because it showed up on YouTube as a recommended, I would love it if you could give me a sub and a like, just because I'm trying to grow this channel. I grabbed 3 new subs today, which was great. So a little past that 1,400. I've been sitting in that for a long time, and it just, I just want to keep growing. I want to keep going as things are moving on. So anyway, I want to talk about Strange New Worlds. It's been something I've been enjoying doing. Now, if you looked at any of the videos here, I'm a trekker. And this is something I made up for the Toronto Prop Expo. So if you're in the Toronto area on the 17th of August, check out the Toronto Prop Expo. It's going to be really cool. This is our 10th annual, or is it the 11th maybe? This could be 11. And I'm doing it for a long time, and it's coming up soon. I'm actually right now working on, I almost have this done. I'm working on, as a raffle prize. I still need to put the button in here, and I have one of this LED here. When I was putting it in, I scratched it. I took a little of the paint off, so I still need to fix that. And just put the button in, and then Bob's your uncle. Anyway, let's get down to brass tacks. So, if we were talking about Star Trek, I like talking about Star Trek. Star Trek is a lot of fun. It's something I've enjoyed for a very, very, very long time. Track order. So it is something that I approach with some trepidation because I saw Discovery, and I've talked about this before, but I saw Discovery and I was not a fan. I didn't like Mikey Burnham. She was the be-all, end-all, and I didn't like that. And like everything was focused around her. And I didn't even like Shaniqua. I saw her in The Walking Dead, and I wasn't a fan of her there either. So she's going to be the head for... Anyway, so I watched season 1, and season 2 came on. We got Anson Mount as Pike. Anson Mount, right on. That was cool. And it was better. But even then, I've had a year. I haven't finished season 2. So, it is. So Strange New Worlds came out, and it was Pike, and I knew about Pike because I watched the Menagerie, and I watched, the Cage, and I've seen all these things. I've seen all the Star Treks. I was born in '67, so obviously it was on when I was an infant, but I saw a lot of it in the '70s. Like I've told this story before. My mom made me a command uniform. I have all that. There's a picture of it on Facebook. One of my girlfriend at the time, young love, she put it up recently on her thing. And anyway, so Strange New Worlds came out, and season 1 was okay. So I thought, all right, it wrapped up with the number 1, Una Chin Riley, taken away because she's an Illyrian, which is genetically modified, and that's not good. Well, Bashir was genetically modified too, and anyway. So let's get to. We'll start at the beginning. So the Broken Circle. This is the first episode, and it really picks up where the season ender was the last season. She's taken away, and then Pike goes, I'm going to get you a lawyer. I'm out of here. Now, at the end of season 1, Laan Noonien Singh also took off. She had to go do something with the Gorn, or with the child on the Gorn world. So, she had to do that. And then, of course, we're working away, and let's take a little bit of downtime. And then a call comes in, and they have to go rescue her. There were a lot of problems I have with this episode, mainly just because, you've got this whole thing when Pike is your tentpole. Pike's barely in it. And then little things that were cringy. Hey, what's your thing? What do you mean? Well, Pike says hit it, and this is, I want the ship to go now. Ugh. I didn't like a lot of this episode. Like, you stole from Raiders for the drinking game, and then you had these other things. And of course, the young girl has 2 mothers, because why wouldn't she? It's just, the whole thing was just kind of cringe. And Yeah. So the less said about that, the better. The karate injection, and then it comes out later. We don't really know this at all about the Doctor, but it comes out later in season 2 that he's a good fighter. Like at one point, we'll get to that in a couple episodes down. As a Doctor who wants to be known as an excellent fighter, but the karate injection was just ugh, and it just, I don't know, it turned me off a lot of it. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. But then we got into the next episode, Ad Astra per Aspera. I forget. Chin Riley said what it was. To the stars. I don't know. Look it up. And this was much better. This reminded me of, Measure of a Man, because you had, Pike was there and watching, and his girlfriend had to be the lead prosecutor. And then we got to the very end, and oh, look at that, they meet the criteria. Like, you could telegraph the ending of this a mile away. You knew what was going to happen, but still, it was really good. Some of these episodes, like some of the ones where they do this, like the courtroom dramas, are good. Like The Menagerie, which they took the cage and they did that. The Drumhead, a lot of good court episodes of Star Trek, the original series, and TNG, which were really entertaining. This was a great episode, and I'm glad they went back to that. And also that brought Pike. Tentpole, got to have him in your shows. But yeah, a good episode, and it sort of fit the whole needs of Starfleet. Like she basically came in as, well, I'm here as a supplicant. I'm a refugee. That's exactly how it's supposed to work. And then things like, well, Captain Pike's in trouble. No, he's not supposed to, according to these regulations. You can almost see the look on Pike's girlfriend's face. Will you please read this out? She goes, oh, I know what you did. Okay, right on. So it was good. A much better episode. Again, good courtroom episode, and that was good. I really did enjoy that. Even though it wasn't really Star Trek-y. It wasn't really out in... Dr. John has this complaint about this series. Now, Dr. John's not a big fan of this series so far. We'll see where he goes later on. But, it's called Strange New Worlds. Show me Strange New Worlds. Courtroom drama is not Strange New World. Oh, sorry about that. Dumb watch. Okay, so that was that, and that was good. And Una Chin Riley is back on the ship, and everything is better in the world. We have everything back as we should. And also in the previous episode, we got introduced to a new chief engineer, Pelia, Carol Kane. Great. Because if she's on the show, I watched Transatlantic 5000 again because she's funny in that, and also I love Jeff Goldblum, great movies. I did a video on that. You can find that in my library. And she was okay. All right. Then we got into good old time travel episode. And there are a few things I said about this in my review, but one thing I thought was really funny, and it just was a one-off, and suddenly everyone else is saying it too. Hey, this reminds me of... I said it would remind me a lot of Voyagers, which I've spoken about as well. It was a fun time travel show back in the 80s. And basically what happens is Lon and Kirk end up back in, well, not our time, a couple years, like I think 2025, and they have to stop everything. But they have this device, and they push the button, and they end up in our time, and actually in my backyard, and it goes from green to red. And they can't do anything until they fix time. So it's a nice little nod to Voyagers. Hey, green light, kid, let's get out of here. I thought this was a fun episode for one reason, well, a couple other reasons, but the main reason, it's filmed in my backyard. Not my actual backyard, but filmed in my backyard. I live in Ontario, Canada. So I'm about an hour north. Because in Canada, that's how we do it. We don't do it by measure. We do it by time. I'm an hour north of Toronto. So they're doing this, and it's funny, they get into this, and this is obviously filmed in the spring. You can tell by how they were dressed, and then some of the snow on the ground and everything else. And they're walking around, and Kirk goes, what are we doing in New York? And Lon goes, we're in Toronto, dumbass. Well, not dumbass, but, well, how do you know? It says Toronto right there. And I knew they were as soon as they landed. Oh, downtown Toronto. This whole series, this and Discovery, is filmed in Toronto. There's a huge amount of things filmed in Toronto. Titans on Netflix is filmed in Toronto as well. So they're showing things. And the week after this episode came out, I was at Serious Star Trek because that's what I do on Tuesdays. And they were talking about this. And it's like, yeah, somewhere downtown Toronto, I don't know where. And I just typed in Dundas Square. And Larry's like, look at Dave. There you go. Well, I live in Canada. I know where it is. I said, oh, Dundas Square. And other parts were all, recognizable landmarks. Much like when I talked a few months back about Earth Final Conflict, because I made my global. And I said, it's really funny because you look at it and you're showing off futuristic places. Here's Roy Thompson Hall, which I don't know why they didn't use that in this show as well, because it looks very futuristic. Anyway, so this deals with the fact that it's La'an Noonien Singh. Sounds a lot like Khan Noonien Singh. Now, they've had to change the whole timeline of all that because in the Space Seed in the original series, Khan left planet Earth after the devastating results of the eugenics war, which happened in 1996, I think. That didn't happen. And then later episodes of Star Trek in DS9 or something like that, they just used the whole, well, because of temporal disturbances, things have been moved around a bit. So now in 2025, we meet a very young Khan. And it's Noonien Singh. She's able to get in with her DNA, which makes no sense whatsoever because she's futuristic and it wouldn't. But there's just a sign that says Khan. There's a young boy there, a young, I guess, Indian boy that would become Khan. Benedict Cumberbatch was never Khan. Anyway, so that changed the timeline, and we'll never see whether Khan is actually, a tyrant again. Hard to say. But everything wrapped up in the end. They became friends. Kirk and La'an became friends, and then they fixed it all. The thing went green. They went back to where they had to go. So the timeline was fixed. And then La'an is back on her ship because when she originally left, when she had the device and time had changed, she's on Kirk's ship, his Kirk's Enterprise, and Kirk was never born on Earth, and Kirk was born in space, and all these things have changed. And when she fixed everything, it's back. It's Pike's ship again, and she reaches out to Kirk, and Kirk goes, oh yeah, just filling in your personal, you're born in Iowa, right? Oh yeah, Iowa, definitely. So everything worked for the end. If you know me at all, I'm a big sucker for time travel stories. So this was in my wheelhouse. I enjoyed that quite a bit. So it was a good episode. It was still not very Star Trek-y, but it was good. Then we get to Among the Lotus Eaters. This had a Star Trek pedigree. This was interesting. They come upon a planet and they see from a long-range scan the delta on one of the buildings. So they have to, go and investigate it. As they get there, there's weird things going on, and it turns out that there's an ore on the planet that causes you to forget. We start off with La'an zoning out, and it's like, oh, I just lost an hour. What's going on here? And they start forgetting who they are. And it turns out this really harkens back to The Cage, because this takes place on Rigel 7. It was a throwaway line from The Cage episode because Pike, Jeffrey Hunter's Pike, is talking about, he had to leave those men behind on Rigel 7. They died on Rigel 7. And they went as far to say, well, here's one of the guys who was on Rigel 7 and he survived. And it wraps up the episode with them getting their memories back. It turns out there was an asteroid or several asteroids or several moons. I can't remember. And they collided, so there's a huge asteroid belt between them, and it's highly radioactive. And one of the pieces landed on the planet, and that's what causes people to forget. As soon as they removed it, everyone got their memories back. And in fact, the palace where this gentleman from Pike's old landing crew was, it was proof against the radiation. So I guess it was, protected against radiation, and they kept their memories all the time. After Pike was there long enough, he was able to get his memory back and realize who he was and what they had to do. But it was very Star Trek-y. It had the original series trope of the week. Oh, here we are on a new planet, and and this has happened and that has happened. It had just enough Star Trek about it, but we had fun things going on. I also talked about it in my review. I thought it was so funny with Pike. Pike was pulling the Clark Kent Superman vibe. When he's on the ship, big poof, off from this side to the side. He goes down in disguise. He puts a hair to this side across. I thought that was really funny. It was like, they did that in Superman the movie, and they did that in Lois and Clark. And it's this and this. Even they did that in Superman Returns, I believe. Brandon Routh did that as well. But this was a great episode. This was very good. And at the very end, they tied it up with a nice bow, and they have Zach, who's now off the planet, and he's going to face some things from Starfleet and other things. But it was a good, nice, wrapped up in one, and there wasn't anything that we got to stay tuned for next week and see what happens. No, just an episode and done, and it's all good. It was really quite enjoyable. And then the last one was last week. We have another episode coming up tomorrow, so we'll see what that is. That looks interesting. And then in a week from there, we get Lower Decks. That'll be awesome. So we have Charades. Charades was an interesting episode. Started off with, Spock being Spock. And then by the time we get to the opening credits, there's been an accident. And they landed, he and Chapel were on a shuttle, and something happened. And it turns out they were looking for a civilization that hasn't existed in a long time, but they were highly evolved in their medicine. And they saw an incongruity with Spock's DNA versus Chapel, because she was fully human and he was half human. So they fixed Spock, and he's fully human. And of course, as this all works, that's the time he had to meet up with his future in-laws. I made a joke about this with Dan on Serious Star Trek yesterday. It's much like, remember that Three's Company episode where they had the misunderstanding? Like every episode. But it was fun. The thing I like best about it is it gave Ethan a chance to act. Like, it's hard when you have to be, monotone and very unemotional and all these things. And that's your whole character arc. That is what you are. Granted, he had a few things to do, but this gave him a chance to sort of break out of his shell and do more things. And every time I hear Ethan Peck talk, I think that's his grandfather. I was talking with some people online, and they were like, even a couple weeks ago, like, I was this old today when I realized that Ethan Peck is Gregory Peck's grandson. Well, the last name should have been a giveaway, but the voice also was a huge giveaway. Anyway, this was another fun episode, good times, and I thought, like, the name of the title is Charades, and when they were sort of scrambling to stall for time, Pike was, we need to do that ancient Earth custom, Charades. And then T'Pring's dad's like, oh, I'm interested, let's talk about this. So that was cute. So far, I think in the grand scheme of things, we got 5 episodes. I didn't like the first one. But the other 4, yeah, okay. I'm giving it a solid B+. They're really quite well done. Let me just bring this back up. So I think they were pretty darn good. I think they swung for the fences this year. Now, we don't know what the next episode is, other than the fact that Uhura can hear something no one else can, because of course Uhura can, because she's the communication officer. That was sort of expanded on over time, especially in the movies. Oh, I've got this. And then we get to the movie, the 2009 and the JJ verse. And it was, well, yeah, I can hear that. You can hear that? Yeah, I can hear that. Can you hear me breathing or anything? Yeah, I can hear you. And, so she's got a little bit better oral sensitivity. And then we'd have the Lower Decks episode coming up. I just saw something on Facebook right before I logged in to do this. And it showed, Boimler and Mariner. And I'm looking forward to that quite a bit. I'm looking forward to see how they're going to do that. And it's great they got Jack Quaid and Tawny Newsome to do their characters. They're actually going to play them rather than just be the voices. So that it's going to be pretty cool. So we'll see where that goes. But it looks interesting. And at that point, well, that makes it so we got 6 this week and then 7, 8, 9, 10. How are we going to wrap it up? There's not much on IMDb saying what is going to happen with it, but I think this could be interesting. We'll see where we end up this year. Now, we do know that there's a finite timeline for Pike, because Pike knows that. Now, I know that because I saw The Cage and The Menagerie, so I understand where that goes. And apparently in Discovery, at one point, he finds a Klingon time crystal and gets to see his future. It's been alluded to in the first season. Here are the kids he saved and then got hit with the radiation poisoning, and that put him in the chair and all these other things. So we'll see where that goes. I should probably watch more Discovery. I'm just enjoying other things right now. With the summer off and with the strike and nothing new coming, I have some more extra time. More extra time. Nice talking, Dave. I have extra time to do that, so I've been watching The Mentalist. I'm watching Earth Final Conflict. I have been just started watching Chuck. I heard great things, never saw it. And with my video on Nick Knight, on the internet download, or the internet archive, had all 3 seasons of Forever Night. I may watch that. I did enjoy Nick Knight. Again, I remember vaguely watching the first episode of Forever Knight, and it's a shot-for-shot remake of Nick Knight, so I may watch Forever Knight and see what that's going on. I run a Jellyfin server, so all these things I just download, throw it on there. I can watch it on my iPad. I can watch it on my Apple TV. I can watch it on my computer, so I have all that available to me as well. So we'll see where that goes. But I should probably add some Discovery into my watch queue so I can get caught up, even to season 2. For what I'm hearing, season 4 was no great shakes either because they're way in the future now. Okay, but anyway, so in the end, I would say I'm giving the gift 2 thumbs up so far on this. I know Dr. Price is not enjoying this, and of course, you get to hear from him this week because if you watch Star Trek at all, it was just the Dantron show. And hey, Dan, if you are, or I know you're not watching this because I don't think you're following me, but if you are ever hearing of anything, you did a great job. On your own, you did a great job. You went almost a whole hour and you were entertaining the whole time. So well done. You did a great job. And that's what really that pushed me to go out and doing this again, because I talked about doing this, but when I saw Dan do that, I was like, right on, I can do this too. I'm going to maybe work with some backgrounds. I've got a nice pop-up screen I can put in, and we green screen a few things and play around a little bit like Dan was doing. Oh, hey, cool. I'm using the Stream Deck on the iPad, and there's a thing in it. You can add a stream icon, and it just sort of sat there, and it's telling me right now that I am streaming. Very cool. Very cool. Oh, man. I love technology. Love technology. So, makes sense in that I fix computers. So I think at this point I'm going to wrap it up. No one came in, which is fine. I don't expect people to come into my streams. I get a lot of viewing on things after the fact. Even my streams get pretty well viewed after the fact. So I would appreciate you for stopping in. If you came to see this video after the fact and you're just watching it because it popped up on your feed, thank you for watching. And if you like this, like I say, pop me a like. That would be awesome. Pop me a like and a sub if you are so inclined. Obviously, I'm not telling you have to, but if you could, that would be awesome. Just so I can get more. The more of these I get, the more of these popping in, so that hey, so and so liked it, so and so liked it, so and so liked it, and then I get recommended more, and then more people see my content, and more things go. So I will probably be doing more about this when it's done. This is a cool graphic. Get that. Oh yeah, I'm not on autofocus. So it'll be done. I just need to get those last 2 pieces, and I don't want to put the top on without having those in, so I don't have to worry about getting glue on the front here. And these are really for my uniforms. I'm going to make some for the Prop Expo, but these the tops aren't as nice as I'd like them to be, so I'm going to resin print them instead, which I can do in the office because I have a resin printer in the office. Probably don't care, do you? That's okay. So that's just something I've been working on, and it's come on nicely, and I'm going to be all set. 'Cause I got 3 weeks to go until the Prop Expo. So the fact that this is done, essentially, I would love to get my tricorder working, to get the screen working. It's a matter of I've got to pull the whole thing apart and do resoldering, and I don't know. We'll see if I do, see if I find the time to do it or not. But yeah. So that for my, I guess, triumphant return to streaming is pretty good, almost 25 minutes, and I'm happy to be doing it. I really enjoy this and get the creative juices going so that I can come up with more of these. So I'm looking forward to doing this some more. So if you're seeing this after the fact, think or know there's going to be more, and it's going to be awesome. And I just realized I'm streaming at 60 frames per second, and my CPU is not kicking out at all whatsoever. So that is pretty cool. Running a Facecam Pro, and it's looking pretty good. What it looks like on here. What am I screaming at? I am doing it right there on 60. Cool. Well, that's probably something you didn't need to know either. So I'm going to wrap this up now. Everyone out there, have a great day. Thank you for coming and looking at me. If you are obviously seeing this, you've looked at me. And I appreciate you stopping by and giving me eyeballs on my content. So I will see you all next week. Also, be aware I post on YouTube and Rumble Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Fridays right now are Star Trek reviews. My friend Larry he said, I love your reviews. Thank you, Larry. Appreciate that. So there'll be review. Star Trek comes out tomorrow, so I'll watch it tomorrow. I'll do a video, and that'll be my review video for Friday. And I'm not sure what I'm doing for Monday, but I do know that I have to do it early because apparently I'm taking the kids to go see Hamilton on the weekend on Sunday. So my day is going to be shot getting them to Toronto and then getting them home. So there you go. So I'm going to wrap up here. Thank you for stopping by my stream. Well, thank you for stopping by my video after the stream is over. And everyone have a great day. We'll talk to you all